Hi guys, I'm just going to get straight into this one because I'm going to do a fuller video, but I just wanted to quickly give my thoughts on Harry's recent live stream interview with the trauma expert. I think it aired on Saturday. I mean, I've just got a few things to say very quickly. So these are just my running thoughts. But first of all, I mean, I don't know if this was really a live stream. You know, there's no live audience. There's no live audience engagement. So I don't really know. And if it is about, you know, him talking about trauma with a trauma expert and talking about mental health and well-being as part of him trying to bring awareness and help others, then why is this not free? Why is this like an OnlyFans account where you've got to pay to watch this? Why is this not free? And why is it in promotion of his book Spare? His book, wah. Why are we doing this again? Didn't his book come out like 2 months ago? And why were people who bought a ticket being forced to buy a hard copy of his book that they receive after the talk? Why wasn't it an electronic copy? Why do they need a copy? This is all about making money. Come on, guys, wake up. This is all about him making money. Him developing a brand. This is ridiculous. And how many avenues and how many outlets does this man need to be able to speak about his story and speak about his past? We get it. We've heard you. We've heard your story. You should have the right, or you do have the right, to tell your story. But we've heard it. How many times are we going to hear the same thing? He does another avenue, a different avenue, a book, a podcast, an interview, a magazine, an article, a news report. Every single thing he does, he says the same thing and then adds a little bit more detail, adds another scathing allegation, adds a little bit of inside information, adds a little bit more, little bit more, little bit more. I'm sick of it. I'm fed up. This guy says he's never looked for sympathy and isn't a victim. Wow. I mean, if that's not a response to the South Park episode, I don't really know what is. Oh, please. When do you take accountability? Never. You just go on and on about woe is me. You are telling a narrative, telling particular stories for a reason. It's to gain sympathy. It's to put forward a narrative that you are the victim and your wife is the victim. Therefore, whatever behavior that people might hold you accountable for is excusable because of what you've gone through. I mean, you and your wife are not the only ones who have gone through what you've gone through. First of all, even in your position and your privilege, you are not the only ones in that royal family that have been through what you've been through, and in any royal family all around the world, and in any public office. You are not the only people who've been through what you've been through. And then, things that you've gone through in your personal life, you are not the only ones who have gone through those things in this world. You are not the only one who has gone through grief and trauma. You are not the only one who has used drugs. You are not the only one who has had bad press. You are not the only one who's been compared or been in the shadow of your oldest brother. You are not the only one, mate. But you can see from both of you that you have a sense of entitlement, of grandiosity, that you both have a sense of a messianic complex, like you're here to save everyone, to save the royal family, to save the people, to save the world. And that was clearly evident. It's clearly evident through everything that you do, because you guys have no insight. You guys have no self-awareness. Like, for example, you do an Oprah interview in sunny California during a pandemic where people have suffered, where people have died, where people cannot see their loved ones, cannot kiss their loved ones goodbye, cannot hold their loved ones when there is a funeral. You did an Oprah interview where people were coming out of lockdown, and all we had to hear about was you guys escaping to sunny California on your private jet, how you were locked up in a palace, and all of this whilst Prince Philip was nearing the end of his life. This is an example of how both of you are just tone deaf. And you expect people to react positively? No. Not a victim. Yeah, right, bruv. Please. Talking about nonsense, like the size of your brother's room compared to yours, being born a spare so that you can give organs to your brother, all this rubbish. Why do we need to know that? Why do we need to know that he got a bigger room than you? Why do we need to know that? It's nonsense. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help the world. It doesn't change the world. But you wanted us to know that because you want us to feel sorry for you. Because you want us to understand why you had such troubled teenage years, why you were coming out of nightclubs, and why you were, hitting paparazzi, why you were taking drugs, why you were doing all this bad stuff, why you and Meghan have abandoned your duties and buggered off to Hollywood. Like, why you go and do all these things to make all this money. You want us to understand where you guys are coming from and to say, well, they've got to tell their story. Look what they've gone through. That's why they had to get $100 million to do a Netflix documentary, because they've suffered, and it's now about peace and them telling their truth so that they can get over their trauma and move forward. No, it's not. Okay, we can choose whether we believe that or not, and we don't. Or at least I don't. How many times is this man going to slate his family and his father and claim then that he wants reconciliation, demanding apologies, coming up to, the coronation and things like that? How many times? This is just ridiculous, and I'm bored of it. I'm so bored that he didn't get a hug from his dad. I'm bored. You got a lot more than a hug, mate. How about look at your situation and understand that your father was the Prince of Wales, that he was the heir to the British throne, that he does over 200 engagements a year. How about you sit back for a moment, you take stock, and you understand. I know as a child you wouldn't have been able to understand, but you're an adult now and you're a father. You have never been in his position. You have never been the heir to the... You've never been in William's position. You don't know what it feels like. You are some extra. You have so much more freedoms than they have. You have like hardly any responsibility and all the privilege. So why don't you take a moment and step back and think about your brother? Think about your father. What's wrong with you? They've got to be fathers. They've got to be husbands. They've got to be leaders of a nation, of a commonwealth. What's wrong with you? Why do you expect them to be like the dad next door? How about look at your dad? Was he loved and cuddled and had all affection when his mum was the Queen of England? Like, take a step back. Have some empathy. And if you've got true empathy, then when you speak, we would feel that. But you don't. You speak and it just sounds like you have absolutely no clue and you're totally tone deaf and it's all me, 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 me. I mean, give your dad a break. I'm sick and tired of both of you. Both of your fathers are alive. Go and make amends and stop airing everything in the media and vilifying the media for intruding on your family. You're all over the place, mate. This is all about making money. This is all about correcting a narrative and continuously correcting things or expanding on things that you've said previously or answering to things that people have said. I mean, when is it going to end? This is why the royal family stay silent. When is it going to end? You talk about how cannabis helped you. Wow. Well, I'm glad something helped you, but boy, you have a powerful platform, a worldwide international platform. People of all ages listen to you. And your wife, someone who had mental health issues, PTSD, you say, and who has trauma. Calm down, mate. Think about what you're saying. Think about what you're doing. And lastly, what really got right up my back, and the reason why I am so peed off, is because I am so annoyed at the continuous allegations and the disparaging of the British people that these guys throw. What the hell does Meghan Markle know about the British people? Okay, and Prince Harry, who is a prince, what the hell does he know about the average British person? This man claims that he was raised in a bubble when he was in the royal family. Well, you're either in a bubble or you know about real life on the streets, mate. You know about the things that normal people go through. So you're either one or the other. You're an effing Prince of England, mate. Don't talk about the British people and how we feel. Don't tell us those who voted for Brexit are racist or against immigration, or there's an anti-immigration feeling and everyone was voting Brexit. Excuse me? What do you know about politics? Define Brexit for me. How can you speak on behalf of the British people? Do not speak on behalf of the British people. Do not tell us that we did not support our troops going into Afghanistan. Are you okay, mate? Are you okay? How dare you? If you were in such a bubble, where did you get this information from? Because I know you don't have friends that are the average Joe working in Hackney or, working in a flipping call centre. So where did you get the information from? The media? What, the British media that you vilify for being such liars? You don't have normal friends. Where did you get this information from? And don't speak on behalf of the British people like we're one. Like Meghan Markle saying, oh, I didn't know that hugs were jarring for Brits. What? Excuse me? So what, it's only American people that hug people? Excuse me? Why do you guys speak like that? Have more agency and responsibility for the way that you speak. Okay? It's ridiculous. The British people always support our troops. Always. Always. They fight for our freedom and our democracy. They fight for our country. They fight for each one of us to have freedoms. They protect our country, our borders. They protect our queen, our country, our territories. And we are incredibly proud of our troops. They fought for your grandmother. They were putting their lives in jeopardy. They were separated from their families, families to whom they may never ever go back to. And matey, you chose your own family over your duty to the troops, whilst they continued to go and fight for queen and country, your grandmother. They put duty before themselves. And we, as British people, will forever be grateful. What a lot of British people were against was the war in Iraq. Because a lot of people believed it was an illegal war. That is what people protested for. And in terms of the Afghanistan, well, a lot of people are annoyed about Britain fighting wars that are not our wars. And also people are annoyed about how much money the government puts into arms and puts into fighting wars when people can't even feed their children. People can't even put heat on in the winter. And these are decisions that you will never face in your life because you and your wife are so privileged. So good for you and I'm happy for you. But don't speak for us. Don't speak as though you are one of us. You are, I left the royal family so that I could live a normal life and my children could be raised as normal children. No, they're still privileged. Their parents are still multi-millionaires worth over £100 million. Wow. I would never see that amount of money in my life. That doesn't make you a normal person. That doesn't make you one of us, the people. That makes you extremely privileged. And your children are going to grow up extremely privileged. You went from one bubble, mate, to another bubble.